Good evening and welcome. We're delighted you've joined us for the Dallas Architecture Forum's panel discussion presented in collaboration with modTEXAS and the University of North Texas Special Collections. We're pleased to have Morgan Geringer with us this evening as she unveils the Rogers-Bruchard Archive, a significant treasure of North Texas architectural and documentary photography. I'll briefly introduce Morgan in a few minutes, and then she will share this outstanding collection with us. My name is Nate Udaly, the Executive Director of the Dallas Architecture Forum, and we're grateful that you're here. I also want to recognize Amy Walton, the founder of modTEXAS, who collaborated with the forum to organize and develop this evening's panel. The Dallas Architecture Forum educates, enriches, and connects our community by presenting programs, creating experiences, and engaging both global and local thought leaders from the design fields to enhance how we live. modTEXAS highlights the work of organizations that celebrate and preserve architecture from the mid-century. Through their Mapping Mod Instagram challenge, over 4,200 photos of Texas modernism have been shared using hashtag modTEXAS. And the UNT Special Collections Department collects and preserves rare and unique materials including rare books, oral histories, university archives, historical manuscripts, maps, and photographs. We encourage you to follow the forum if you're not already a member at our website, dallasarchitectureforum.org, and also at our social media and e-newsletters. We also hope that you'll follow modTEXAS on Instagram as they continue to put modernism on the map, and also follow UNT Special Collections on Facebook and Twitter. We want to give special recognition to the outstanding sponsors who have made this evening possible. The forum is grateful to our panel season sponsors, Electronic Interiors, Galaxy Modern, Purdy McGuire, Turner, and Walter P. Moore for their leadership support. The forum will present two outstanding virtual lectures for our members in the next few weeks. On Tuesday, October 20th, we're pleased to have the dynamic architect Jason Long of OMA, New York, speak for us. His firm has designed some of the most innovative buildings around the world, including the Seattle Public Library and the Wiley Theater here in Dallas. And on Thursday, November 5th, forum members will have the great privilege of hearing from Dirk Dennison, a distinguished architect and academic thought leader from Chicago. Dirk heads the Mies van der Rohe Americas organization, and he is a noted author, speaker, and architectural designer. Forum members will receive information to register for both of these lectures. We encourage you to become a member of the forum at our website, dallasarchitectureforum.org, so you also can attend these great virtual lectures. AIA CES credit is available for those virtually attending this evening. You can email your name and AIA number to Jean at dallasarchitectureforum.org following this program, and she'll submit your attendance to AIA CES. And now I'm very pleased to introduce Morgan Geringer. Morgan Davis Geringer is the head of special collections at the University of North Texas Libraries, and she's also the director of the archival management program in the UNT College of Information. As head of special collections, Morgan oversees major archival initiatives, which include the LGBTQ Archive, the WBAP KXAS Television News Film Collection, the Black Academy of Arts and Letters Archive, the Dallas Area Rapid Transit Archive, and of course, the important initiative of archiving the John Rogers and Georgette Bruchard collection, a photographic record of life in Dallas during the peak architectural and cultural timeframe of the 1940s to the 1970s. Morgan has been a professional certified archivist for over 15 years. She holds degrees from UNT, a Bachelor of Arts, and also a master's degree in library science from Texas Women's University in Dallas. Welcome, Morgan.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
We're delighted to have you. Look forward to this evening. Before we hear from Morgan about the outstanding Rogers-Bruchard photography collection, I'll ask her to briefly share what an archivist does and how she decided to pursue that as a career. Morgan?
That is such a great question. I love that. And just to put it in a nutshell, an archivist is someone who collects and preserves historical material of enduring value for use by anyone. In a university library, we're generally working with faculty, students, and scholars, but the things that we preserve and the work that we do is open to anyone, open to the community, and anyone who cares to enjoy it.
Wonderful. And how did you decide to pursue that as your career?
Well, I've loved libraries all my life, and I knew that I wanted to work in a library someday. But when I was pursuing my graduate degree, I had an opportunity to work in the women's collection at Texas Women's University. And it was just one of those things from day one. I fell in love with it, being able to, touch and hold, letters and photos and things that were a direct connection to the past. It's just a really amazing opportunity.
That's wonderful. It's an amazing career, and this collection, we're so excited to hear more about it. After we hear from Morgan, you, our viewers, will be able to submit questions in the Zoom Q&A function, and Morgan will be glad to answer those. Thanks again for joining us, and now I'm very pleased to call on Morgan to overview the Rogers-Bruchard collection.
Hi, thank you all for joining me here tonight. I'm so excited to share this collection with you, the John Rogers and Georgette de Bruchard collection, an archive of mid-century photography. Before I get started, I wanted to say thank you to Amy Walton of modTEXAS and Nate Udley of the Dallas Architecture Forum. Thank you so much for allowing me to join you tonight. It's such a treat for me to be able to share this collection with you. Before I get started, a little warning. I am not an architect. I am just an archivist. So please forgive me if I mangle some of the architectural terminology here tonight. And also, please feel free to reach out and help us identify and describe some of the buildings you're going to see tonight. Some of the buildings you're going to see are very well known and identifiable. Some of the buildings we really have no information about, and we would love to hear from you. What you're going to see tonight is just the tip of the iceberg. We have digitized about 900 images from this collection of well over 100,000 photo prints and negatives. What you're going to see here tonight are just the images that we're able to fit on our computer screen, but you're really going to want to check these photos out in our digital library where you can zoom in and see all the details. This presentation just doesn't give enough attention to the exceptionally high quality of the photos in this archive. And this presentation is meant to showcase the photos with a little contextualizing information. And let's go ahead and get started with some information about John and Georgette. John Rogers was born in 1924 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. As a child, John was unfortunately very sickly, and he's described himself as being very sort of ill as a child. He had very severe asthma. His parents kept him indoors. And over the winters, he traveled with his mother to Arizona, where he lived apart from his father. However, the Rogers family was quite close throughout their entire lives. In 1941, John graduated from high school and volunteered for military service in 1942. He served as a combat photographer with the 393rd Infantry, taking 159 pictures in action, including many at the famous Battle of the Bulge. After he returned from war, John attended and graduated from the Art Center School in Pasadena, California, and then established a photography studio in Dallas in the fall of 1950. In 1962, John met and married Georgette de Bruchard, who you see here in this lovely dress holding one of the magazines in which she published her own photography. Georgette was born in 1928 in France. She moved to Dallas as a young woman with her parents and pursued a career in photography. When she met and married John in 1962, she stayed married to John for the rest of their lives, and they were very much in love. Together, John and Georgette would create one of the best and most unique photographic archives in Dallas, as well as a significant resource documenting architectural works between 1950 and 1990, not only in Dallas, but across the US. John worked as a commercial photographer, shooting projects for stores such as Neiman Marcus, as well as for publications such as Architectural Digest, Better Homes and Gardens, and Southern Living. He worked with architects, developers, and builders to document architectural projects from start to finish, and he worked on major corporate campaigns, including those of AT&T, Dallas Power and Light, and Southwestern Bell. Georgette worked for Southern Methodist University as a staff photographer, as well as working for many of the same clients as John Rogers. Georgette's style of photography was a little bit different than John's. Georgette focused more on people as opposed to buildings. And her photography focused on celebrities, politicians, artists, and people in the news in Dallas. Among the many celebrities she photographed and politicians are Pat Boone, Maria Callas, Bobby Darin, Alice Faye, John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, and Richard Nixon. So let's take a quick glance at just some of these wonderful photographs, and I'm going to just skip through these pretty quickly because I just want you to get a sense of what this archive contains. But before we do that, here's just a quick photo of the archive itself. You can see here the photos in the collection. On the left are photo negatives. On the right, these are photo prints. This is a very large archive made up of a multitude of formats. The negatives you see here are large format negatives. These are 4 by 5 inch. John and Georgette also shot in medium format as well as 35 millimeter format. Okay, so here's some of the photos. This first one is a Georgette photo. This is Maria Callas at the airport receiving what I can only imagine is a bouquet of yellow roses. These 2 photographs are also Georgette's. This is Yves Saint Laurent on the left and Maurice Chevalier, French actor, on the right. This is Neiman Marcus. The collection has a lot of documentation of Neiman Marcus, fortnights, store events, fashion shows, window displays, even the gift wrapping, which was very elaborate. I just like this photo in particular. This is a photo of Love Field. This is one of John's photos. The Meadows building with this nice classic car parked right out in front. This building, which some of you may recognize, this is the Texas Instruments Semiconductor building. This is an O'Neill Ford design building, and this is one of John's photographs. This building, the Park Davis building, I think Park Davis is a pharmaceutical company. This is one of the many buildings that I do not know if this building still exists in Dallas, but I thought it was a very interesting photo. This is another one of John's shots. This is downtown, looking at the Magnolia building and the Adolphus Hotel. And the front facade of the old Dallas Public Library with the hand sculpture with the child coming out of it. This remarkable collection, however, was almost lost, if not for the quick action of one of my personal archive heroes, Kate Singleton. These important images would have been thrown away or lost to the highest bidder on eBay. Kate Singleton, who some of you may know, she's a former historical preservation officer for the city of Austin. She's also been a member of Preservation Dallas in the past. Kate grew up next door to John and Georgette in Dallas and knew them throughout her childhood. And she was able to rescue this collection when John and Georgette passed away. She kept the materials in climate-controlled storage for years until donating this collection to UNT. What you see here is a photo of the collection when it was picked up by UNT in July of 2014. It has taken us almost 6 years to process and index this collection. And it doesn't look this big here, but after we picked this up, Kate brought us several more big batches of things that she had stored in other places. We're so lucky that Kate recognized the value of this archive. But I think one of the reasons that Kate took so long to donate it to us is that she was afraid no one would see the value of it or really know what to do with it. For one, over half of the collection is made up of photo negatives, which unless printed or scanned can be very difficult to use. And forget about dates, almost nothing in the collection is dated. We can only provide reasonable guesses as to dates. And as to identifying individual buildings within the collection, this is what we have to go on. This is John's handwriting, and as you can see, it is not very good. Our archivist, Sam Ivey, worked almost continuously on this collection for 6 years since it arrived, and really has become a master in deciphering this handwriting, which has been crucial to our understanding of the collection. We've also done a significant amount of research to better understand this collection and how it was created, and most significantly, how John and Georgette were able to build such a unique business with their photography in Dallas. And this piece of correspondence I've pulled out here to showcase because I felt it was particularly revealing. This letter is from John to his father. And in this letter, John is saying how thankful he and Georgette are for a gift of mobile oil stock. He says, "This gift has given us income for the rest of our lives, no matter what turn the economy might take. This removes all pressures of income from life and makes the future no mystery at all." In addition to this wonderful gift he received, I would love to receive a gift like that. John also came from a very wealthy and well-connected family. John's father was the attorney and advisor to the Chapman and McFarland families of Oklahoma. Early in the 20th century, Chapman and McFarland became aware that few banks would lend money for what was considered the risky business of oil development. So they and a few other oil men organized the Exchange National Bank with the purpose of meeting the needs of the oil industry. John's father, who was also named John Sr., throughout his life was an advisor to Chapman and McFarland, and was able to also independently build a business as an attorney working in the oil and gas industry. So even though this may be enough to make you a little bit jealous of John and Georgette, according to Kate, John and Georgette were warm, genuine, friendly, and kind. She calls them the best kind of people. And John and Georgette easily befriended other people throughout Dallas who were interested in art and architecture, including Ray and Patsy Nasher and Art Swank, who was a frequent guest at the Rogers home. And here you can see this is just a screenshot from the city directory of 1961, and I've put an arrow next to John Rogers named. He was listed under commercial photographers. A lot of these photographers are sort of well-known names now, especially you'll see above John Rogers is Squire Haskins. The Squire Haskins archive is also a very important collection of architectural photography held at the University of Texas at Arlington. Now I'm going to highlight a few Dallas buildings from the collection. Several of these buildings are restored, in the process of being restored. And in all cases, these photos just really speak for themselves, providing a glimpse of both the architecture as well as the artists and craftsmen who designed the interiors and furnishings. So let's take a look at some of these buildings. This, first off, is one of my favorite buildings that we've uncovered in this archive. This is the Braniff Operations and Maintenance Base. This is located at 7701 Lemon Avenue. David Preziosi of Preservation Dallas called this building one of the best pieces of mid-century aviation architecture in the country. Here's what David had to say about this building from an article in 2012. He said, the Operation and Maintenance Base, or OMB as it was called, served as the maintenance center for the entire fleet of Braniff aircraft. It included 2 hangar bays, repair shops, testing laboratories, training facilities, a reservation center, a dining center for employees, a prep center for flight meals and office. There was even a room to test jet engines. Utilizing an overhead track, the engines were removed from the planes and delivered to a special testing room with reinforced walls and 3-foot thick blast doors. So this is the photo from the street side. The previous photo was the view from the runway side. So you see the parking lot in front here. The dominant design element of the building is the central core with inverted roof flanked by sloping hangar roofs on each side. Of course, this was meant to mimic the design of an aircraft. The Braniff Center. So today, this building, let's see, oh, and here's the call center. This is just a view from inside the building, the telephone operators. Another view of the street side, the machine shop, and this lovely photo facing out to the runways with a pilot in the background, just a really cool office. And this is what this building looked like in 2012 when Preservation Dallas highlighted this on their endangered buildings list. And today, this building is known as the Braniff Center at Love Field. It's a multi-use facility featuring 200,000 square feet of high quality hangar space accompanied by retail, restaurant, offices, and an auto showroom, evidently. So the next building I want to talk about is the Statler Hilton. Of course, I'm sure everyone here is familiar with this building. I've highlighted here one of the broadcast scripts from the WBAP archive. This is another collection we hold at UNT. This first story talks about the beginning of the excavation of, or no, this talks about the helipad. So the excavation on the Statler Hilton started in 1953, designed for the Statler Hotels chain. The hotel opened as a Hilton hotel and was completed in 1956 at a cost of $16 million. The Statler Hilton Dallas was the first major hotel built in Dallas in nearly 3 decades and became the largest convention facility in the South. So as you can see here, the script talks about the heliport, which offered a helicopter taxi service between the airport and the hotel. And this new script talks about the opening of the hotel in 1956, which was attended by dozens of celebrities, including Ann Miller, Leo Carrillo, and Lisa Kirk. And here are just a couple of images of the Statler Hilton. And I'm sure we have more in the collection that we haven't uncovered yet, so I'm looking forward to finding those. The next building I want to talk about is the Republic Bank Tower. The Republic Bank Tower, built in 1954, was the first major downtown post-war office in Dallas. The building is distinguishable for the large decorative mast atop the tower and its exterior skin of aluminum panels, each embossed with a star. This building is located adjacent to Thanksgiving Square and diagonally across from DART's St. Paul Station. This photo is actually one of Georgette's photos, which you might be able to tell because it has just regular, normal-looking people here in the bottom of the photo. And I just love this photo to see the mast on top of the Republic Tower peeking up right in the center of the image. Here's another image of the Republic Tower. This is a prime example of mid-century modern skyscraper design. The building is clad in these interlocking aluminum plates And this building was designed by architects Harrison and Abramovitz. The elevators inside the Republic Tower traveled at a rate of 1,400 feet a minute at their construction, making them among the fastest in the nation. And here's a detailed photo of that star embossing. I just love this photo. This would be a great screensaver or background for your computer. And here's another photo of the interior of the bank. Just good old-fashioned banking. And then this is the bank lobby. So the next building I have to talk about is the Dallas Apparel Mart. In its heyday, the 5 seasonal markets each year drew 15,000 people to the Apparel Mart, retailers prowling the floors looking for the future of everything from formal wear to boots and hats. So what you're seeing here is one of the showrooms with the model there. And then this is also the Apparel Mart. I love these ladies getting off the elevator here. In the background, you're looking into the Grand Hall or the main hall, the Great Hall of the Apparel Mart. And then here's 2 additional images of the Great Hall. The Great Hall was 4 stories, and this was the place where major events were held at the Apparel Mart. I just think this room is so strange looking. There's also been at least 1 movie filmed in this room, Logan's Run, the science fiction movie. Does kind of have a science fiction-y look to it. So this next building I'm going to show is a home. This is the Charles Gruen home, and this is one of those buildings that we don't really know a lot about. Charles Gruen was an art director for Neiman Marcus, overseeing fashion illustration and advertising for the store. You know, we know he worked at Neiman Marcus for a long time. He's mentioned in Stanley Marcus's book, Minding the Store. And this home is just fantastic. You can see here this sort of campfire style fireplace with seating all around it, the floor to ceiling, windows. To me, this is very reminiscent of, you know, O'Neill Ford or other modern architects, with the house almost blending into the landscape outside. Here's a shot from the exterior, and then another shot into a smaller room. And of course, we have here the Thanksgiving Square Chapel. This iconic building has been captured by countless photographers, but I think John's photos capture it particularly well. Thanksgiving Square Chapel was designed in the 1970s by Philip Johnson. The 58-foot chapel spire contains 73 panels of stained glass. And you can see the stained glass panels spiraling upwards here in this photo. I thought it was very funny. There was a letter in the archive to John Rogers from the Thanksgiving Square Foundation thanking him for taking so many images. I think John shared these images with the Chapel Foundation, but they were also admonishing him gently to remember that Thanksgiving is 2 words. So that is something I will remember from now on. Thanksgiving Square Chapel. Thanksgiving, 2 words. And here's another great photo of the chapel with the backdrop of the city behind it. The Southland Life Center complex. This complex was originally designed by Welton Beckett and Associates from Los Angeles, the Southland Life Insurance Company. When the groundbreaking took place in 1955, it was being compared to Manhattan's Rockefeller Center. as Southland Center was the first mixed-use project in downtown containing both hotel and office space. And you can see both of those spaces here, the office space, the Southland Life building, and the Sheraton Dallas behind it. Beckett, of course, designed many iconic mid-century buildings, including the Cinerama Dome in Hollywood and the Capitol Records building in Los Angeles. He is also the designer of Reunion Tower in Dallas. The Southland Life Center was featured recently in Flashback Dallas, the website, back in April. And one of the things they mentioned is that when the Southland Life Center opened in 1959, it was the tallest building west of the Mississippi, but it was also the home to many great pieces of artwork. And in the picture to the right, you can see a couple of those commissioned artworks. The kinetic sculpture titled Totem by Richard Filipowski is the sculpture that's coming from the ceiling and going down between the stairs. And in the background at the top center of the photo above the registration desk is the Venetian glass and broken marble mural by Luman Martin Winter. This is one of those photos that if you were to look at this in our digital library, you would really be able to zoom in and see all the details there. This is a shot of one of the dining areas in the Southland Life Center complex. And then a shot of just a foyer area, again, with some really great artworks hanging there, paintings as well as sculptures, as well as, you know, other interior furnishings, such as this screen that really set this building apart and made it very special. This last shot is from the street at night, looking into the building, into the registration desk. So this last building that I'm going to feature is called the Glass House, and this is not in Texas, this is in Oklahoma, but I was just so tickled when I found this because I have driven underneath this building so many times and always wondered, what is that? And I had no idea that it had a name. It's currently a McDonald's, but this building stands at the halfway point on the Will Rogers Turnpike near Veneta, Oklahoma. It opened in 1957 and was the first restaurant built over a U.S. highway. It also, in addition to the Glass House restaurant, was also a Conoco filling station. Each side of this building is glass-faced, so people dining inside could look out with these panoramic views on both sides of the building. And here's just another view of this, and then an up-close view. So again, you know, I would say this is a preservation success story because this is still here. You can enjoy it now as a McDonald's, I guess. So I really encourage everyone to go online and look at this collection. Anyone is free to view this collection by going to the portal to Texas History and searching for John Rogers and Georgette Bruchard. We currently have, this says 696, I think we have over 900 images now online from this collection. You can search by photographer, you can, you know, keyword search, you can search by date, but really I encourage you all to go in and look closely at these photographs and really zoom in because they are just really phenomenally exceptional. You can also, when you're viewing these photographs, you'll see a link next to each one of the photographs to submit a question or to submit more information. So if you see a building that's been misidentified, or if you see a building that you can provide additional identifying information for, we would love, love, love to have that information. And we receive information like that almost every day about our collections, and we do go in and we update these records because we want to capture that. So the images that you're viewing online are the work of many people in the Department of Special Collections and Digital Preservation at UNT. Two people in particular that I just want to thank: Sam Ivey, who was our processing archivist for this collection. He worked for over 6 years to preserve this collection and create the online searchable index to the collection. And Anna Esparza, who is our digitization and metadata specialist, she oversees the digitization of these images and the creation of the metadata, which is what makes them searchable and findable for everyone today. So that is it for me today. Here is my information. I would love to hear from you anytime. You can reach out to me by email. You can also check out our Special Collections homepage if you want to know more about our other collections. UNT Special Collections is the home to a wide variety of materials documenting Texas history and beyond. So thank you again to everyone for joining me tonight for this presentation, and I hope you enjoyed learning more about the John Rogers and Georgette Bruchard archive. Thank you.
Thank you, Morgan. What an amazing collection. You did an amazing job, I think, of archiving really so much of Dallas's history and architecture in North Texas. You and your team are really to be commended. Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'm pleased to also welcome Amy Walton. She's the founder of modTEXAS, and she worked with me in the forum to organize this evening's program. Glad to have you on board, Amy.
Thank you, Nate.
So viewers are now able to submit your questions via the Q&A function on Zoom, and we're have Morgan here to answer them. So I'll start with one question for Morgan. Morgan, you mentioned that the Rogers-Bruchard collection has about over 100,000 items, which is huge. But the UNT Special Collections, that's just one of many other important collections that you have there at UNT. So please tell us briefly about kind of the scope and maybe your best estimate of the size of the holdings in UNT Special Collections.
Well, we do have quite large collections. We have about 1,200 unique archive and manuscript collections, and those can range in size from, a single folder to, 500 boxes of papers and photographs. All told, we have about 20,000 linear feet of archives and manuscripts, and we have about 30,000 additional cataloged items in our rare and distinctive books collection.
Oh, that's a lot. And so if you had to throw a dart on the wall, how many total items do you think you might have, just a guess?
Millions. I would never even attempt to estimate it.
Wow. So enough to keep you and your team busy the rest of your working careers and then some. No, it's amazing. So Amy, why don't you start us off with one of the questions?
Certainly. One of our viewers has asked if there's a possibility of a book that would feature this collection.
I think this collection would make a great book. Does anybody here want to write it? Yeah. Get in touch with me. I'm serious. I don't want to write it. Somebody else can.
Wonderful. Next question is, the DeGruin building, is it still standing?
I don't know. The Charles Gruen home, I don't know the address. I don't know where it is. I'm assuming it was in Dallas. That is all I know about it.
So I guess if any of our viewers out there happen to know more about this home and whether it's still existing, let us know. That'd be good information to have. Amy?
We have someone that's interested in knowing more about how you fund the cataloging of a collection like this. I'm sure along with the joy of receiving a gift like this collection, there's a lot of work that goes into both staff and funding that's required to help bring 100,000 images to life. What does that look like for UNT and your job there?
Well, we are lucky that we have dedicated staff to process and preserve collections, but that is sort of the baseline minimum. I mean, we get the collections into acid-free folders and boxes, we index them, we get them into a climate-controlled warehouse. But then anything above and beyond that, especially the digitization of individual images like we're doing for John Rogers, that is a time-consuming and costly endeavor. So usually major digitization projects like this, we seek external funding. We work with foundations, grants, individuals. We've been able to digitize quite a few images from this collection, but there are many, many more that need to come to life in our digital library.
Thanks. Next comment is from Kate Singleton, who got a huge shout out from Morgan for
Hi, Kate!
archive exists. She says, thank you and your crew for the hard work you put into the collection. So I think, Kate, on behalf of what Morgan has said, and for all of us, thank you for being sure that this collection was preserved so that we can all enjoy it now and in the future. So that's amazing. Thank you so much. And then we have two questions from Willis Winters, our former parks director, amazing architect and great force for preservation in Dallas. So he says, does UNT have business records from the Rogers Architectural Photography Studio? And then he's wondering if you had architects of various buildings that were hired by Rogers or hired Rogers or the building owners. So do you have records of some of the transactions for the photography?
So that's one of the really puzzling things about the collection. We do have some records, but they are very incomplete. And that's why when we started working with this collection, we sort of wondered, like, how was this even a business? Because he didn't really seem to advertise. He didn't really seem to, keep ledgers or, anything that you would associate with a typical business. We know that he worked with a lot of architects, and if you look at the online guide to the collection, which is different from our digital library, you can see lots of names of architects and firms that he worked with. And, like I mentioned, we do have some correspondence, like what we found from Thanksgiving Square. We also found a series of correspondence that he had with Herman Miller, who particularly liked to work with him to photograph some interiors. But yeah, a lot of that is just missing. And I don't know if that's just because, it was never kept or something else happened to it.
One last question from Willis, excuse me. The question was, do you have any of Rogers and Georgette Bruchard's camera equipment? Does that still exist? Do you have any of it?
No, I wish we did.
Okay. Amy?
Someone asked about the original negatives and whether or not those have been preserved, perhaps what's happening after you all do your scans.
Yeah, so all of the original negatives are preserved. And after we do the scans, the negatives go right back into their acid-free sleeves and housings, and they go back into our warehouse. So this is not a scan and destroy operation. The original artifact will always be preserved. But, negatives are just hard to look at. They're very inaccessible. So in particular, that's another reason why we want to digitize this whole collection. We do have, you saw maybe one or two examples of color photography in the collection. There is black and white and color photography. Although John and Georgette, I will say, both primarily shot in black and white. The color photography in particular is a preservation challenge because the colors shift over time. So they take on sort of a pinkish reddish hue. So, those will continue to degrade at a faster rate than the black and white negatives, but we do all we can, but we cannot stop time.
Yeah. Amy, a question from Chris saying, what exactly does modTEXAS do?
I can help there. Well, in essence, we're a pro bono advertising campaign for Texas modernism and for all the great organizations across the state, including the Architecture Forum, who help educate people and preserve these buildings. And our project exists primarily on Instagram, and we're encouraging Texans from every corner of the state to stop and take photographs of the modernism that they see and enjoy in their neck of the woods, and to share it through Instagram using the hashtag modTEXAS. And collectively, all of the people who have been playing along with us thus far have shared over 4,200 images of buildings and signs and other aspects of design that they enjoy and that they think is worthy of preservation. And we're always seeking more people who participate in the project, whether through stopping and taking a photograph or sharing a memory as you see photographs of spaces that you remember, know something about, or you've got a question because perhaps one of our other Mod Texans can help answer it. So we have a lot of fun documenting these buildings and working on a collective history that all of us can use to enjoy our neighborhoods a little bit more.
Great, you're doing a fantastic job on that too. Then we have a viewer that comments about the potential of publishing maybe just some of the archives in the book. He says, reach out to Texas Docomomo chapters. And then for those of you that don't know, Docomomo is a preservation organization that really focuses on preserving modernism. And both Amy with modTEXAS and the Dallas Architecture Forum work closely with Docomomo. And so we'll be glad to connect Morgan with Docomomo if she hasn't already been connected with them. But obviously what you're doing in the archive is very tied into a lot of what Docomomo really focuses on. So
yeah, that's a great idea. Thank you.
Yes. Amy?
So Willis has asked, are there 35mm slides in the collection?
Are there 35mm slides? I know we have 35mm negatives. Honestly, I cannot remember if there are 35mm slides in the collection. Slides are a little bit different because they are, in positive format. They're more of a transparency rather than a negative. I cannot remember.
And the last comment here, Morgan should make you happy. It's from Kate Singleton again. He says, I have a couple of the cameras John and Georgette mentioned. I mentored a lot of young photographers. And then she mentions a particular person he mentored and gave his first camera to. So I guess you might connect back with her because it sounds like some of the cameras might make their way, maybe at least on a temporary basis, to the archives. So.
Well, that sounds promising. Call me.
So this has been an incredible evening. I mean, the collection again, the archive is fantastic. We're pleased to let you know that this evening's program will be posted on the forum's YouTube channel within a few weeks, and we'll let everybody know when that's up there, and so you can watch it again and share with other friends, because again, this archive is just amazing. But Morgan, you want to talk some about the links that people might want to access?
Yeah, I put some links here in the chat box. The first link is to our digital library. That's a direct link to the John and Georgette's archive, where you can see all of the individual images. You can click on them, expand them, look at them real big. And then you can hit that submit information button next to the images if you have additional information that you can share with us. The link below that is to a digital exhibit. This is just a kind of a curated view of some of the photos that we looked at tonight. And then the last link is our guide to the collection. That's the full index to the collection. So if you are searching for a particular person, place, or thing, that is the place to search.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Again, just an amazing collection, you and your team. Kudos for all of your work, and I know more to come, but it's fantastic. Thank you. Amy, thank you for helping to organize this, get it together, and promoting this event. And for all of you watching us this evening, thank you especially for joining us, and we hope all of you have a great evening. Good night.
Thank you so much.
Good night, y'all.
Bye-bye.